Check. Check, check. Are you able to hear me? Check. Check, check. Are you able to hear me? We are going to start in the next 3 minutes. Check, check. Are you able to hear me? Check. We are going to start in the next 3 minutes. Check. We are starting the next 3 minutes. All right, 4:28. We should start in a couple of minutes. Check. Check. Hi Sandesh, welcome to the course. We should be starting in the next couple of minutes. Sandesh, I hope you are able to hear me clearly. Hello Hemant, welcome. Hi Sandesh, welcome to the course. We should be starting in the next couple of minutes. Sandesh, I hope you are able to hear me clearly. Hello Hemant, welcome. Hi Sandesh, welcome to the course. We should be starting in the next couple of minutes. Great. So while the others are going to join, let's get started. Welcome to the course. And today's session is going to be on the tips and strategy to ace your personal interview. Most of you have given CAT exams and you're ready to go for the interview in the next few weeks, next few months. You're going to attend interviews. And today we are going to, for the next 30 minutes, talk about tips and trade as to how to crack an interview. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nitin Prabhakar. I completed my MBA in 2003 with AIMS institutions. Soon after that, I worked in multiple organizations for 15 years in the human resources field. I've headed human resources for multiple MNCs, which includes Infosys, Satyam, 24/7, Converges. And for the last 2 years, while I was at human resources, I realized that everybody invests time in their hard skills, which is the subject knowledge. But what is required most is the soft skills, which is basically the behavioral skills of an individual. So for the last 2 years, I have been training students and corporates on soft skills. So basically in your interview process today, we're gonna not really discuss about group discussions or the essay or extempore, which are some of the processes in an interview. Today, what we are going to predominantly focus on is your personal interviews. Yeah, because that is, extempore is something that is used for in 50% of the institutions. But personal interview, as far as I know, all the institutions use personal interview in order to select or reject candidates. One thing that I have interviewed for the last in 15 years of my human resources, at least 1,000 interviews is what I've conducted. One thing, fortunately or unfortunately, recruiters do is they do not really select people basis just the technical skills. It's also the soft skills. And the recruiters don't go with an intent to select, they go with an intent to reject. Right? So how do you come out of that, and how do you back that victory is something that we are going to look at in this session today. The common questions, we are going to cover 10 common questions. The common questions that you're going to face in the interview, most often than not, these are the questions that will come your way, which is: tell me something about yourself, tell me something which is not on your resume. Very interesting question. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Why MBA? A very, very common question. I've asked this question to almost everybody who's a fresher and who would join our organization. I've always asked this question: why MBA? Why have you chosen this institution? What has been your biggest achievement? What has been your biggest failure? What are your strengths and weaknesses? A difficult question, but definitely will come your way. Who is your role model? Do you have any questions? Now, these are the 10 typical questions that will come your way, for sure. In the meanwhile, if you have any further questions over and beyond these 10, I'll try to address those questions as well. So keep bringing on questions. If I'm in the midst of answering a particular question, I will wait to answer those questions and then answer your question. I hope that's okay. All right. Before we get into answering those 10 questions, there are a few things that I would want to talk about. There are 3 steps towards getting ready for an interview and attending the interview. The number 1 step is pre-interview. It's just not about the interview. There's also your preparation for your interview, which is write down your questions. My whole recommendation is if you open your Google, there are a list of questions that will come your way. What are the most commonly asked questions? Write it down. The reason why I'm saying it's important for you to write it down is because when you write it down, you remember. And when you write down your answers, you can always go back and look at those answers, fine-tune it, correct it, make necessary amendments to those answers, just so that your answers are just apt and also crisp and short and clear. So write it down. It's very important for you to write it down. Once you write it down, do not stop at that. Just read it, reread it till such time you're very comfortable with the answers. And once you're comfortable, do the next one, which is your mirror talk. Go in front of a mirror, start answering those questions in front of the mirror. You will get to see how are you answering. Are you answering confidently? How is your body posture? All of these are going to be evaluated during this mirror talk. Once you're confident with your mirror talk, move on to the next step, which is ask one of your mentor or one of your senior colleagues to ask you these questions and try to answer this. What is happening at this particular point of time is you are simulating an interview atmosphere. So when you attend an interview, you already have experience attending an interview with multiple people. So you feel very comfortable with this environment, right? So when you face an environment, normally what is fear? Fear is of the unknown. If you don't know something, that causes fear. But when you've attended or faced such interviews with multiple mentors of yours, multiple seniors of yours, you feel a lot more confident when you face the actual interview. You feel like all these things have already happened and you feel a lot more comfortable. Yeah. Know about the interviewer, know about the company. These are two things that I'm going to talk to you in a bit. It's very important for you to know about the institution that you're attending, and also the interviewer. If you already know who's going to take your interview, read through them. I'm going to tell you why in a bit. Expect cold responses. Some of the institutions just don't look at your subject. Your subject knowledge is important. Your behavior, if they give you cold responses, if they act extremely strict, if they act extremely cold, how would you respond to such difficult situation as what they would want to understand? When a difficult situation is thrown, how do you react to such situation is what they are trying to gauge. So be ready for that. Expect rapid fire. While you're answering, they could probably cut short your answers and they could ask you multiple questions. You do not have to get offended. You don't have to think that you're giving wrong answers. All they are trying to do is check your attitude, check your ability to manage stress, right? So take it extremely easy. Visualize. Now this is one thing that I would request you to do. Sit down on a daily basis for at least 3 to 4 minutes. Visualize, assuming 3 people are sitting in front of you. Close your eyes. Look at yourself sitting there and answering those questions. Now again, what you're doing here is getting acclimatized, getting comfortable to the environment of an interview. Yeah. So these are few things that I would recommend you to do as a part of the pre-interview process. It's important for you to be prepared for the interview so that you do well during the interview. If you take an example of a cricketer, if somebody without practice goes on the nets and tries to hit a 4, it's not possible. So how much of preparation is required? The amount of preparation that an individual has done will help the person perform well on the day of the match. Similarly, your interview is dependent on your preparation. So interview is half success, pre-interview is half success, and the next step towards your interview is, when you go there for an interview, go with least expectations. A lot of time people think, I would want to crack this interview. Come what may, this is the interview. If not this, then nothing else for me. Do not go with so much of pressure, because pressure, stress is not good for performance. So go with no expectation. The only thing that I would want you to go with is with a lot of preparation. Number 2, I'm going to go there and give my best today. The results is definitely not in your hand. What is in your hand is preparation. What is in your hand is to give the best. Results are definitely not in your hand. So do not really wait or expect for any, go with any strong expectations. So leave that behind and go with an attitude to give the best. Don't give out too much of information. When they ask you questions, be crisp, clear, give how much information that is required. Normally in an interview and in an audit, it is told that do not give too much of information. The moment you give more information, there will be more questions coming your way. Give how much ever is necessary. It's okay to ask for time to answer. When they ask you a couple of questions which you're not really ready for, ask them for time. Take few seconds, 15-20 seconds to gather your thoughts. Pen it down, whatever thought that you're coming, write it down on a notepad, and then you can start answering. It gives you time to think and give better answers. So it's absolutely okay to ask for time, but couple of times, not really multiple times. If you ask multiple times, then the interviewer might feel a little restless. So couple of times is absolutely fine. Now the interview is over. What is going to happen in an interview is something that we are going to cover in the next steps. The 10 questions is what we're going to cover today. Once the interview is over, my recommendation, this has worked for me. The post-interview has really worked for me well. When I've attended an interview and I'm really keen to get that particular job or an institution, what I've done is I've gone back and got the email ID of the interviewers. If there are any answers that I've not given, I would reply to that individual. I would write a mail to that individual saying, thank you so much for the time that you have shared. It was a great learning experience. It was a great interview that I've attended. There are a couple of questions that you asked which I did not have answers to, and these are the answers that I've learned today. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to learn a couple of new things today. Thank you for your time, and then I drop in a mail. It is a very, very powerful tool. Not everybody would do this. Believe you me, not everybody who does this. The viewers who are looking at this, please cultivate this habit to drop in a mail, and it's going to leave a very positive impact. At a subconscious level, you are telling the interviewer that you are somebody who's very keen to get this particular institution. You are an individual who's extremely keen to learn new things. You are an individual who do not want to leave things unturned. You would want to learn it and then move on. So it's a very positive signal that you're sending to the interviewers. So go there and drop in that mail, and that's like a closed loop. Pre-interview, interview, and post-interview, it's a closed loop. I hope that makes sense to all of you. With that, there are a few things that I would recommend you during your interview time. It might sound extremely basic, but my first point is be on time. Being there on time in itself gives you a sense of confidence. You get acclimatized to the situation, the environment, you'll see what's happening, and you're a lot more comfortable. Vis-a-vis, the interview is happening, you go late, you're already 1 point down. You're not really showcasing very well to the interviewers about your punctuality, about your attitude, about your interest towards getting that particular institution. So it does not really show well. So be there on time. Be there at least 30 minutes on time, before time, right? So you will get to see what's happening, and then you'll feel a lot more comfortable. You get into the ease, and when you go into the interview, you'll feel a lot more confident. Number 2, walk in with confidence. Now, body language speaks a lot. It's a 7-second rule. Within 7 seconds, people will determine whether they would want to select you or not. It's called as the first impression. It is very difficult to take off the first impression and redo it. If somebody walks in with a hunch and not so confident, the interviewer would decide not to select that individual and pose difficult questions at the interviewee. And it's very difficult to change from there. And that is why it's important for you to carry a body posture which is extremely full with confidence, a chest up, right? And of course, not with pride. You go with confidence. Those are things that when you are doing your pre-interview preparation, I would recommend you to do this. Open the door, walk in, shaking hands or saying good morning, hello ma'am, hello sir. All of these are things that you might want to practice. Smile is the most expensive gift that each one of us have. So smile and say good morning. During your talk, also have a smile on your face. It leaves a very positive impact. Like I said, the 7-second rule, it gives a very positive impact. All right. The next one is, do you shake hands or not with the interviewers? My recommendation to you is this. There is no black and white about it. There is no prescription about it. It is recommended, it is told in the books that it's best that you don't shake hands with the female interviewee, but my whole recommendation is this. If there's 1 or 2 of them, feel free to shake hands if you would want to. Otherwise, you can just say good morning, good evening, whatever time of the day it is. Share your greetings and you can sit down. But if you still want to shake your hands, you could go ahead and do that if there's 1 person or 2 people. If there's a lady and you shake hands, and if they ask in an interview, why did you shake hands with the lady? You can always rebuttal by saying that I do not consider gender bias. I consider everybody as equal counterparts, and that's how I shake hands. And tomorrow, at some point of time, when I work in a corporate, and if it means that I need to bag a deal by shaking somebody's hand, could be a male or a female, I would still go ahead and do that. So it's absolutely okay, according to me, to shake hands with anybody, but if the interviewers are not more than 2, go ahead and shake hands. If there are 3, then it's a crowd. Imagine there are 5 people sitting, you going and shaking hands with each and every one of them. That's too cumbersome. In such case, you might just say, hello everybody, hope you are having a good day. That leaves a very positive impact. All right. Sit or not, wait for you to be offered. In case if they do not, you might want to still go ahead and ask, may I take my chair, may I take my seat, is it okay if I sit? Ask permission before you sit, or let them speak it out before you sit. Do not grab your chair and just sit directly. What do you do with these hands? The most heaviest thing when you're talking to somebody is this hand. Where should you place your hand? Ideally, keep it on your lap or on the handle of the chair. This is the right posture. Do not do not lean completely on the desk in this manner. It will show that you are very complacent, you're not you're extremely lazy, you're not very keen, or you're very relaxed, that kind of, or you're very nervous. Those are the kind of things that you might show. And also, if by keeping your hand on the desk, in case if your palms are sweaty or it's a little shaky, it can be seen. So every gesture of yours, your smile, your sweat, the way you're sitting, everything is going to be noticed. So keep it safe and sound, but do not just keep it on the handle or on your lap. Use your hand to express. It's important for you to use your hand, but not too aggressively, or just don't keep it completely down. Use it how much ever that is required. When you do your mirror talk, you might want to just check how much is good enough. Last but not the least that I would want to talk about is your sitting posture. Sit upright, don't relax. I've seen in interviews, it has not shown good at all on the interviewee who go back and sit relaxed, leg on top of another, which shows absolutely casual attitude. I would definitely recommend a no to that. Sit straight, which shows that you're keen, you're interested. Alright? Moving on. The first question, tell us about yourself. A definite question that will come your way. Now, what is the best way to answer this? Begin to end, which means to say you would always start with, hi, I am Nitin Prabhakar. I was born and brought up here. I did my schooling, I did my college, I did my I worked here. So you're talking about your beginning till the end. In a resume, it is the other way around. It is always you talk about your current, what are you doing, which is if you have done your, if you have worked, you would talk about your CAT preparation, you would talk about your work experience, you would talk about your graduation, you would talk about your undergraduation, your schooling. It's the other way around. But when you're talking to somebody, speak from the beginning till the end. When you're talking, one thing that you can do differently is speak like it's a story, your life journey. I've heard people say a few things and then they talk about my strengths are, my weaknesses are. Instead of which, I would recommend you to tell it like a story. During my school, I had participated in this fest, and it has helped me garner the skills of being confident, people management, and assertiveness. Now, these are my greatest strengths. Now, what has happened? You have told a story, and because of which people can resonate, people can understand, people can accept. Instead of which, just saying that my strengths are this, it seems like you have just come prepared with that for that particular question. Right? A story is something that can help you connect with the interviewers. Keep your there's no prescription. This is from my experience. Keep your introduction short and crisp. 60 seconds, max 120 seconds. Otherwise, it gets a little too boring. People do not want to, let them ask questions. Let it be more interactive than it's a one-way conversation. Well, I used to ask this question. I never used to ask the first question. The first question is, tell me something about yourself. This is the most boring question to me because that's something that every interviewer asks. So I used to ask it a little differently. Tell us something which is not on your resume. Now, a lot of people come prepared for the first one. Now, they are not prepared for this. So in case if they would want to keep, take you off guard, catch you off guard, then they would ask you this question. So be prepared with this question. Something that is not on your resume. When I ask this question, people will still stick to talking things that is there on the resume. So keep yourself prepared to talk about something that is not on your resume, which could be any of these. Be prepared to speak about your life experience, about your previous job, about a fest or a project that you conducted, and also talk about the learnings that you have had. Those are things that will interest the interviewer. Your achievements, your hobbies. Now, if these are not on your resume, talk about this. Go prepared with this. Right? Now, moving on to the third one. In case if there's any questions in the meanwhile, guys, keep shooting questions. Else, I'm going to stick to these 10 questions for today. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I'm sure you have come across this question because this is one of the most common questions that everybody would ask. The reason why they would ask, firstly, understand why they are asking this. The reason why they would ask you this is because they're testing the clarity of your vision. Are you just joining MBA just like that, or do you have a very, very clear vision? Is what they are trying to test. Now, when you speak about this, talk about a specialization that you would want to take up. I would want to be in the financial field. I would want to be a subject matter expert in the HR recruitment field. I would want to be a subject matter expert in the recruitment field. So those are things that you might want to talk about, your specialization, in the next 5 years. I would want to be a specialist in this area. I would want to be a marketing specialist in the IT software field, right? When you're talking about specialization, it shows that you're a lot more clear. The one thing that you can talk about is not the outcome. A lot of people say that I would want to be a manager in the next 5 years. Is that in your hand to be a manager? Not at all. It is not in your hand to be a manager. What's in your hand is how much of learning can you have, how much of growth can you have as an individual. What are the things that you would want to learn in the next 5 years? What are the things that you would want to specialize in the next 5 years is something that I would recommend you to talk about. Say, for example, if it was me and I joined HR and HR was my specialization, I would have spoken about I would want to be an expert in IT recruitments. I would want to go through trainings on IT hiring. I would want to enhance my soft skills. I would want to go through trainings on how to conduct interviews. Now, those are things that I would want to talk about in the next 5 years, and I would want to say, talk about being a people manager. I would want to lead people because I'm absolutely passionate about people. But I'm never going to talk about I would want to be a manager, or I would want to be an assistant manager. I would want to be this, I would want to be that. Those are things that I would not really be interested in. Do not talk about the designation. Talk about what is that you would want to be in the next 5 years. I hope that makes sense. Moving on, the next one, why MBA? A definite question that will come your way, so be prepared for that. How can this course, so what your typical answer could be is, how can this course help you enhance your personality? Why, you're joining MBA so that your personality is enhanced, right? Especially the ones who have done your BE, BTech, and if you're applying for this is a sure shot question that comes your way. Be prepared for this. I know it is an added advantage if you're in BE. If I had done my BE, I would have been really happy to answer this question because if I had to join an IT recruitment field, who would an IT organization prefer? Somebody with an IT knowledge or somebody with the BCom knowledge? IT with an MBA is somebody that they would prefer because this person also knows the technical aspect of it. If you would want to get into the IT sales, whom would they prefer? If you would want to get into the IT marketing, who would they prefer? So, think on those lines. How can this course help you enhance your personality? You've already garnered your knowledge on your finance, or could be your IT knowledge. Now, this is where you would want to develop your managerial skills, your people management skills, your decision-making skills, your leadership abilities. Those are things that MBA is going to teach you. So you might want to talk on those lines. To increase my soft skills and technical knowledge, to learn from the best about business management. And you're basically telling that I'm joining the best. Yeah. Moving on. Why have you chosen this institution? This is a lovely question. This is where you can earn brownie points. I have had interviewees come and tell me a lot about my organization. They have spoken about the vision of the companies that I've worked in. They have spoken about the values, the culture, the number of people who are working in the organization, the number of sites that they are located in, the number of countries that they're located in, the kind of verticals they are in. When they come and talk to me so highly about the organization in depth, it builds a sense of connect. And knowing fully well that this person is really keen to join this institution or an organization. So know about the institution in depth. And secondly, if you know who the interviewer is, There is LinkedIn, there's Facebook. Go there, get to know about their individual, what their person's likes are, dislikes are. So all you got to say is, sir, the reason why I would want to join this institution is because talk about the institution, and there are phenomenal faculties. One such faculty is you, and I was reading about your credentials, and you worked in this institution for so many years. You have this as your specialization, your achievements have been this, and it's an honor for me to sit here and talk to you, and it will be my privilege to be associated and study in this institution. Now what happens? You're talking very highly about the interviewer. So there's a connect, there's a rapport that is being built at a subconscious level, right? It makes a whole lot of difference. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Sure, short questions. Be ready for this. Now, I would request you to spend a little bit of time to understand what your strengths are. For each one of your strengths, write down 3 strengths. For each one of your strengths, have examples. If I'm talking about I have great leadership skills, where have I displayed my leadership abilities is something that I'm going to write down. I'm going to have examples for each one of these, because this is a sure shot thing. They will not let you answer this question and keep quiet. They would ask you for certain examples where you have displayed these behaviors. Similarly, 3 weaknesses. Difficult question, right? My recommendation here is talk about any of the weaknesses that you have already started working on. Let's assume that communication is your weakness. You would talk about it in this manner, that I was somebody who was not proficient in communication. However, for the last 1 year, I have been doing self-talk, mirror talk. I've been reading newspapers aloud. I talk to individuals in English. I don't use my local dialect. And today, what I'm been able to converse is because of my hard work. Yes, there is a scope for improvement. I would still consider as an area of opportunity, but I've grown a long way. Now, what is happening? You are talking about your weakness, but you're also saying that I'm working on my weakness. Some of the examples could be, I do not have work experience, could be your weakness. But if you have participated in your management fest, if you organize seminars, talk about those. That's my weakness. However, I've done this. So you are trying to say, while I have my weaknesses, I'm working on it. Right? So it's a very tricky one. Spend a little time to understand a lot more about your strengths and weaknesses. Moving on. What has been your biggest achievement? Think through. I'm sure each one of us have achieved something in our lives. Think through, have 3 examples. Now these are all the things that you might want to talk about. Have examples, because they will not just ask you about your achievements and keep quiet. They will want to know, what are the examples, where have you displayed those? What has been your biggest failure? In this, do not make up. Be extremely candid, open, honest, and tell them that you failed in a particular instance. It's absolutely okay to tell that. For example, in my situation, while I was in the recruitment, I hired 100 employees, not looking at the SOW. SOW said that we had to hire postgraduates, but I hired graduates. That was my biggest failure. And thereafter, one learning that I had was, before I start hiring, I look at the memorandum of understanding, read it, make notes, give it to my teams, everybody discuss, and then we started hiring. So that is my biggest learning. So what happens is, think about what is your biggest learning, be extremely honest. What have you learned from this? How did you implement your learnings? These are things that you might want to have in your kitty. Where have you failed and how have you really learned from that? Give us a reason why not to hire you. Right? This is a question that can really stump you. Why should I not hire you? Of course, you're going to start with saying that I think I'm extremely suitable for this role. But if there's one reason that you should not hire me, you can talk about any of the weaknesses. We spoke about some of the weaknesses. Communication is my weakness. However, like I already mentioned, I'm already working towards it, and I personally feel that I am absolutely suitable to join your institution. Last but not the least, do you have any questions? Will come your way for sure at the end of the session. Now please remember to ask some questions. Go with questions in your hand, have it handy. Go with some questions in your mind. Ask at least 1 or maximum 2 questions. I would not recommend more questions because the interviewer might get a little uncomfortable. The interviewer would have multiple interviews on a particular day, and if you have a lot of questions, it can get a little annoying for the interviewer. Ask 1 or 2 important questions, not less. You cannot say I don't have any questions. It may not sound really good. Do not have too many questions, right? These are some of the questions that I felt is extremely important. This will definitely come your way. Um, that's the reason why I wanted to cover these topics. What we do in Unacademy is we cover some of the inputs, which is communication. How can you become a better communicator in order to crack the interview? How can you manage time better in order to crack the interview? How can you be a better leader in order to crack the interviews? Those are a few things that we are covering as a part of the course in Unacademy Plus. I would recommend you to join this course. Go to Unacademy Plus, join this course. In the meanwhile, if you have liked what you just heard, like, share and subscribe this video. For Unacademy Plus, use my referral code NitinPker/4915. You will get 10% discount to understand a lot more about soft skills, and there are multiple courses. Like you're aware, you can be a part of this Unacademy family. Right? Let's crack this. Let's crack this interview. We are going to talk a lot more as a part of this, session in our soft skills. Join me there. It will be great to have you out there. Looking forward. Any questions that you have before we wind up? I'm going to keep the window open for the next session on YouTube, Vaishali. You will get a notification. We don't have a specific date, but on Unacademy today at 8:30 we are talking about communication. Communication is the topic that we are talking about. We started yesterday. I'll be recapping that, and we'll be continuing the course till the 14th. We are going to focus on communication as a topic. From the 15th onwards, we'll be talking about interview readiness. All of these and many more questions, how do we answer it, is something that we are going to cover in depth. Now, what I covered right now, basically interview skills is an 8-hour program. I've condensed it and tried to cover as much as possible in this 30 minutes. We are going to cover an 8-hour session in the interview skills alone on the Unacademy Plus. So you will get a lot more understanding of how to crack interviews. You can, shoot questions out there too. Vaishali, I hope that answers. Unacademy special class. There was one special class that I did. It is a plus program, Vaishali. It is a plus program on Unacademy. It is, how to crack an interview is the topic. Yeah. Any other questions that you have? Anybody? Vaishali, anything else? Well, I think that's more like it. I think there are no more questions that's coming our way. Thank you, Vaishali, for your questions. Thank you, Sandesh. Thank you, Hemant, for joining in. Looking forward to see you on the Unacademy platform, the Plus platform. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm really hoping that this was helpful, and wishing each one of you to crack the interviews. Like I said, let's crack it. Thank you.